Understanding Amber, Part 1.
Amber has sat very comfortably amongst its gemstone peers for centuries. Dating back to Neolithic times, it has been highly prized as a popular element in adornment and decoration. However, amber is one of the few substances on Earth categorized as a precious stone, despite having organic as opposed to mineral origins. Diamond and jet are two other examples of precious stones which have plant origin, and whilst those two examples are from coal, amber comes from ancient trees. Specifically, amber is the fossilized resin of long-extinct coniferous trees. The oldest amber specimens recovered have been dated up to the Upper Carboniferous period, 320 million years ago. In terms of botanical origin, fossilized resins fall into two categories. Baltic ambers, historically documented as Prussian, come from ancient Cyadopotiaceae family plants, historically native to northern Europe. The second category includes resins from the Americas and Africa, and these hail from an extinct ancestral tree closely related to the modern genus Hymenaea. It is important to note that although many people confuse tree resin with tree sap, the two substances are significantly different. All trees produce sap, but resin is produced solely by members of the Pinnaceae genera, such as spruce, pine, fir, and cedar trees. Resin is exuded from the bark of the tree and also produced deeper in the heartwood. The substance offers protection by sealing and blocking gaps within the tree and to damage on the bark. The antiseptic properties of resin serve to protect the tree from disease, and its stickiness deters the activity of gnawing and burrowing insects. In the primordial forest, viscous resin oozed down the trunks of trees, forming globular stalactites and amorphous layered sheets, collecting oddments of soil and detritus along the way, and even entrapping insects and crawling creatures in the adhesive gloop. After the death of the tree, rivers and tides would eventually carry the resin-coated remains of deceased logs out to deltas in coastal regions, where they became buried in layering sedimentary deposits. The majority of amber does not originate from the place at which it was found. Most accumulations of amber are redepositions, which have occurred as a result of geological activity. Amber is mentioned by Pliny the Elder, a Roman savant, naturalist, philosopher, and author. His accurate encyclopedic book, Natural History, is the largest single work to have survived from the Roman Empire to modern day. A part of this book was dedicated to the documentation and categorization of all manner of mineralogy and precious stones. Despite the fact that many of his academic peers still subscribed at the time to the numerous colourful hypotheses about the origin of amber, Pliny the Elder cited opinions which clearly acknowledged that specific tree resins were the true origin of the autumnal-coloured material. Pliny detailed that amber was produced from a marrow discharged by trees belonging to the pine genus, referring to its native Latin name, succinum, meaning juice, and stating that it was a liquid at first, which issues forth in considerable quantities and is gradually hardened. He even ascertained that the distinctive pine-like sense emitted by amber when rubbed, heated, or ignited was further proof of the specific genus of tree. The Greek name for amber was electrum, a word meaning shining sun. According to one Greek legend, when Phaethon, son of Helios the sun god, fell to his death, his mourning sisters, the Heliades, or daughters of the sun, became black poplar trees. Their arms became branches, their hair became tangled leaves, their cries became the forest breeze, and their mournful tears became amber. Interestingly, this ancient Greek myth, which certainly indicates the vegetable origin of amber, came about centuries before scientists would arrive at this same conclusion. It is endlessly fascinating when nuggets of truth can be sifted from the sands of myth and legend. Legend and stories have always been an intricate way of retaining and carrying information through passages of time, but this particular Greek folklore suggests that a level of natural human understanding actually predated the scientific cognition of this particular substance. Other farther-fetched theories included the idea that amber was the tears of birds mourning Mialga, the fallen Greek hero of the boar hunt. In the Lithuanian legend of Jūratė and Kastytė, it was believed to have been a sea goddess who shed golden tears of amber in mourning of her beloved. The early Chinese believed that the souls of tigers became amber upon their release from the mortal plane, and some cultures believed amber to be the congealed droplets of sweat left upon the soil by rays of sunlight. In addition to a rich wealth of diverse folklore surrounding amber, it actually took quite a long time for scientists to reach a consensus on the matter of its origin. Some scientific researchers were convinced that it was the fossilized honey of wild bees, or a byproduct of the vital functions of forest ants. Some theorized that it was hardened sea foam. It was even hypothesized to have originated from the urine of the lynx, with the male of the species producing a darker version than the female. Scope for diverse creativity, even within the scientific boundaries, appeared, whilst logic and reason gathered evidence took time to catch up. In ancient Syria, amber was referred to as harpax, a word which meant to drag. This was on account of the electrostatic properties of amber. Syrian women noticed that, when rubbed with cloth, amber attracted light objects, such as hair, fibers, or leaves, in spite of opposing gravitational forces pulling them down. Amber was used to make the walls of spinning needles, as it attracted the chafed fibers away from the fabrics, keeping the equipment clear. It became known by the Persians as karuba, or straw robber, for these powers of frictional electricity. One of the first materials used for ritual offering and ornamentation, the placement of amber alongside the deceased in ritualistic formations indicates the extent to which prehistoric peoples revered the material. Roman cemeteries often contained what appeared to be offerings of amber beads, particularly with child burials. Although amber is a rare find in ancient Egypt, some beaded jewellery and rings carved from amber have been discovered in several Egyptian burial chambers and tombs, including the tomb of Tutankhamun. The oldest piece of carved amber, an amulet, was found near Hanover in Germany and is believed to have been carved around 30,000 years ago. Some historians believe amber was known to Assyrians in the days of Nineveh, an ancient and enormous Mesopotamian city which was established in 6000 BCE. A tapered obelisk of stone inscribed with Assyrian script was discovered in the 19th century and was translated by noteworthy Assyriologist in 1826, who believed the inscription was indicative of the early existence of commerce between northern Europe and Assyria. The translation was as follows: "In the sea of changeable winds," indicating the Persian Gulf, "his merchants fished for pearls. In the sea where the North Star culminates," indicating the Baltic Sea, "they fish for yellow amber." This episode was written and researched by Charlie Forever Dark and narrated by Jay Hart.